They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
There was no way in hell I was going to miss it. I had to be there, and also my Trump dolls had to be here as well.
The buses that are coming from Staten Island are jam-packed, so this place is going to be wild.
This movement is ascended and is going to go on long after Donald Trump is only more powerful and broader.
Again, Donald Trump is for America and he fights for Americans.
Hey, what's up everyone? It's Sarah. I'm back at it again with another video. So at the time that I'm filming this video, we just had the election of 2024. And because of that, I've been seeing Trump all over the news these past few months. And it made me think about what's unique about the movement and his messaging and how the media handles it. Now, there's a whole other way to look at it, and that is from the energy perspective of what's actually happening below the surface. So this video is very unique because I'm going to be talking about marketing, mind control, and the energetics behind it. And to make more sense of what I was already seeing for all these years and to draw some more conclusions, I ended up looking up clips of his rallies, scandals. But another thing I did was I looked at history. So I ended up watching hours and hours of videos, and I'm going to be showing you lots of clips, so just keep an open mind. I know there's so much talk about secret societies that people in power and celebrities are involved in. Some of it is legit, some are wild conspiracies. That's really not the point of this video. And it is pretty well known that a lot of these people are involved in the occult. And I have a friend that ran for office before, and he got to know some of his potential colleagues, and he confirmed to me that a lot of these people are hardcore magicians. I'm not saying that they're always doing it themselves. They have teams of people that work on their behalf. So Trump is the best example because this dude gets out of everything. He has just amazing luck. But I digress. So when you hear everything's energy, it sounds very new agey, right? And I want you to step back completely. Look at everything from a distance. Emotions, energy in motion, right? So strong emotions have a lot of power. When you focus your attention on the same thing for an extended period of time, that's what creates a powerful wave of energy. Think of all the meditations, visualizations, the journaling exercises, affirmations, and even rituals. They all have you focus on your intention and outcome. So back to the alchemist view on energy. Imagine all energy of all humans was the ocean. And usually there are gentle tides, but whenever someone has some kind of emotional outburst, it creates a lot of movement. Now, if there are lots of people that are having an emotional outburst, you start creating a current that goes into the same direction. Maybe you're thinking, what the hell is she talking about? But I promise it's all going to start making sense. So back to the topic of attention. What is fame? Fame means being well known to the public, having some kind of fan base, so people worship you in a way, and having people's attention, even if they don't like you. That's key here, even if they don't like you. Now, if we think of celebrities, you know how there's always scandals, and they're not random. It's hard to constantly be on everyone's mind. And for people to not forget them, they have their ways to remind us of them, right? So a Hollywood actress has a movie coming out. Surprise, there is a cheating scandal. A musician is going through a messy divorce and boom, they have an album coming out. Now, the attention that we give them gives them power. And it's even more powerful if people have strong emotions. If you think about it, anyone that becomes famous evokes some kind of emotion in the public, right? So about the Trump movement. Trump is the perfect example because he evokes strong emotions and opinions in everyone. You either love him or hate him. There's no in between. There's a famous quote in marketing. I think it was Seth Godin that said it. Appeal to everyone and you'll appeal to no one. If you'll try to appeal to everyone, it's boring and people won't connect to it. Now, if you're more specific, you target your message to a section of the population, and that section is gonna feel like you're speaking to them. The ones that don't resonate with your message either just won't connect to it or they'll start to dislike you. If you can make people feel like they relate to you, like you're speaking to them personally, and you can make them feel something, they're gonna be your diehard fans. The more controversial your message, the more you'll get worshipped by one section of the public, and the more you'll spark outrage with the rest. But the attention of the controversy and the outrage still feeds you. It's energy. That's the key here. Trump is extremely polarizing, and his messaging is so extreme that about half of America is outraged. Pretty much any time he opens his mouth, people are furious, and at the same time, he has built a cult following. The people that follow him perceive him as an outsider and as authentic. He becomes their god, their hero, whatever. Let's get into more of his marketing and his messaging. Back in 2015, when he ran the first time, he came up with the red hats and with the slogan, "Make America Great Again." And that became the acronym MAGA. The red hats are super recognizable, and MAGA is easy to remember. Now, in the past video, I talked about sigils a bit, how certain symbols are created in order to project energy towards a goal. And in the reverse, they can be used to draw or to zap energy from someone else and to use that energy towards the goal as well. Now, the phrase "Make America Great Again" is always written out completely. In that sense, it's not really a sigil. However, with millions of people wearing it for the same reason, because they love and worship Trump and his politics, I would argue that it funnels energy to the movement itself and Trump. So from now on, if I say the word Trump supporter, I'm talking about his loyal followers. I'm not talking about anyone that just voted for him because they think groceries or gas are going to be cheaper, just to be clear about it. If you have ever spoken to a Trump supporter and tried to tell them that Trump is bad, you already know it's impossible, because this section of the population, again, they're practically spellbound.
Some camping out since midnight. Catherine Qatari was here at 3 a.m.
We're here for Trump because we're doing the right thing. We are the people.
Many sported Trump shirts, others carried flags, and yes, a few flaunted French fry hats. Gina Tufaro showed up with this sign trying to find what she calls a MAGA man.
Now, nothing is random here. There are certain periods in history where far-right authoritarian leaders rise to power. These personalities are always polarizing. They're intentionally divisive. And they're using the fear and anger of the population to capitalize on it and to get to power and to take control. If you know me, you already know. I have an American dad and a German mom. As an American, I have been feeling like I've been watching a car crash in slow motion. And as a German, the parallels to the 1930s are so obvious. But instead of talking about it, I'm just going to show you some clips. And just to be clear, I'm not calling Trump supporters Nazis. Yes, there are some fringe white nationalists in his base, but they are really just a tiny part of the core base. So this is not the point of the videos I'm about to show you. It's about the way movements develop. It's about him getting inspiration for his speeches by some old school fascist leaders and the kind of messaging Trump uses to connect to his audience. Keep an open mind, listen carefully, and warning, it's about to get dark. If you're feeling anxious or certain topics are too triggering or stressful, don't watch.
Die große Zeit ist jetzt angebrochen. Deutschland ist nun erwacht. Die Macht haben wir nun in Deutschland gewonnen. Nun gilt es, das deutsche Volk zu gewinnen. In uns selbst allein liegt die Zukunft des deutschen Volkes. Wenn wir selbst dieses deutsche Volk emporführen durch eigene Arbeit, durch eigenen Fleiß, eigene Entschlossenheit, eigenen Trotz, eigene Beharrlichkeit, dann werden wir wieder emporsteigen, genau wie die Väter einst auch Deutschland die Geschenke hilft und uns selbst nicht schaffen mussten.
The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. You're going to be forgotten no longer.
Der Marxismus wurde damals zum ersten Mal zu einem Kampfziel erhoben. Damals gelobte ich mir zum ersten Mal als unbekannter Einzelner diesen Krieg zu beginnen und mich zu ruhen, bis endlich diese Erscheinung aus dem deutschen Leben beseitigt sein würde.
we will drive out the globalists, we will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media until they become real.
Vielleicht wird Manfred der Ihnen sein, der es mir nicht verzeihen kann, dass ich die marxistischen Parteien vernichtete. Aber mein Freund, ich habe die anderen genauso vernichtet.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea.
But you know, I always say, we have the outside enemy, so you can say China, you can say Russia, you can say Kim Jong-un, you can say, but that's not, it's going to be fun. If you have a smart president, no problem. It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with that hate our country. That's a bigger enemy than China and Russia.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
If you notice a pattern, they're both speaking to a section of the population that feels abandoned. Both of them have a way to awaken the rebellious spirit in people. And they're both feeding it in a way where they position themselves as a savior. Trump is saying all of those problems you have is because of the bad people in our country. Now you found a scapegoat, and it's the leftists, the Marxists, communists. It's basically people that you don't agree with and that don't agree with you, the people that are on the other side of the political spectrum. Even though in US politics we don't have communists or Marxists, but regardless, he's intentionally making a separation between them and his audience. Now you have not just polarized everything, but you made it a fight of good and evil. And of course, your followers, your audience feels special. I intentionally clipped these sections of Mustache Man speeches because he also blamed his opposition for everything that was going wrong in the country, and he vowed to eradicate them, which he did. People gravitate towards authoritarian leaders when the economy is falling apart. History proves this. Dictators and their movements all have things in common. Now here's what Wikipedia says about dictatorships. Dictatorships are often characterized by some of the following: suspension of elections and civil liberties, proclamation of a state of emergency, rule by decree, repression of political opponents, not abiding by the procedures of the rule of law, and the existence of a cult of personality centered on the leader. While we're at it, let's talk about history a bit more. Hitler didn't just appear one day and start a war and send Jews to death camps within a year. The German population didn't just turn into Nazis overnight. There was a long process. World War II started in 1939. I'll talk about the beginning of the Nazi Party later, but just for quick reference, Germany had lost World War I. They had signed the Versailles Treaty and had to pay reparations, and they had to disarm the military. They had hyperinflation. People were incredibly poor. But besides that, Germany, for the time being, was a progressive country. In 1923, Hitler and some in his party attempted to coup the government, but failed, and he was imprisoned. And while in prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, which was his whole ideology, very anti-Semitic. So he then gets out of prison. The party is still seen as a fringe party, and no one even takes them seriously. But Hitler is committed to get into power. He gets appointed chancellor in 1933. Now, Germany had a parliamentary system, and even though he got appointed and the party had 1 seat, they still only had 12% of seats in the parliament. So the Germans were warned, if you appoint him, he's gonna attempt an authoritarian takeover. He's crazy. And they still let him get into power. His party starts the most successful propaganda and brainwashing operation in history. And little by little, they take over. They take away civil liberty. They take away rights from groups that they don't like. They take full control of the media. And eventually, they suspend the constitution. They put their political enemies in prison. They start killing sick babies because they see them as useless. They sterilize women with disabled kids so that they can't breed defect Germans. They kill the disabled for the same reason, because the German race is supposed to breed only perfect DNA. They put the Jews in work camps at first to get them out of sight. Then they deport more and more Jews to these work camps, right? And then they run out of space. And then they start shooting them somewhere out in the country where no one will find out. But that's not efficient enough. So evil mastermind Himmler figures out, oh, it's more efficient to gas people. And then they built the death camps. And these camps were outside of Germany. When they're deporting people, they give them food, tell them they're going to a better place where they can all live in community with each other. And they don't tell the German population what they're actually doing to the people. And remember, they have taken full control of the media. So there are no news articles printed about what's really happening. So it takes a long time till the population becomes aware what's really happening when Jews are being deported. And remember, any kind of political enemy gets the same treatment, so you better be quiet. How do people get brainwashed? This is from an article about crowd manipulation. Some dictators have been masters of crowd manipulation, such as Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. As a rule, these people have something in common. They are united by the traits of the dark triad: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. The narcissism of the authoritarian leader manifests itself as a sense of great destiny and superiority over other people. How do authoritarian personality and obedient masses form? A one-man dictatorship is impossible. To become a dictator, you need people involved in the political game, according to specific rules. On the one hand, you need the inner circle, the so-called elite, which will both provide and share unlimited power with the dictator. On the other hand, you need the masses who agree to accept the norms of this game. Dictatorships often center around someone with cult personality. There's no question that Trump has this cult personality because the whole movement is centered around him. It's not centered around Republicans. It centers around him. And this is why some people that are now Maga were former Democrats, independents, or people that weren't even interested in politics. It is impossible to even have a conversation with someone like that. Just like Trump himself says. He could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he would not lose any voters. That is cult behavior. Now let's define what a cult is, and then let's look at Maga. Now this is from an article again. Absolute authoritarianism without accountability. Zero tolerance for criticism or questions. Lack of meaningful financial disclosure regarding budget. Unreasonable fears about the outside world that often involve evil conspiracies and persecutions. A belief that former followers are always wrong for leaving and there is never a legitimate reason for anyone to leave. Abuse of members, records, books, articles, or programs documenting the abuses of the leader or groups. Followers feeling they are never able to be good enough. A belief that the leader is right at all times. A belief that the leader is the exclusive means of knowing truth or giving validation.
If you look at North Korea, this guy, he's like a maniac, okay? And you got to give him credit.
That's a famous Mussolini quote. You retweeted it. You like the quote? Did you know it was Mussolini?
It's okay to know it's Mussolini. Look, Mussolini was Mussolini. It's okay to. It's a very good quote. It's a very interesting quote.
And 2024 is the final battle. That's going to be the big one. If you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over, and America will be a free nation once again. When they go after me, they're going after you.
I left behind a magnificent life and I stepped up to fight for America because no one else would do it or would do it properly. Matt said it.
Verfallen in seiner Ehre und zu verfallen damit in seinem Ansehen. Es kam die Zeit, da man sich nur dann mit Stolz zum Deutschen bekennen durfte.
In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. And now I say to you again tonight, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And I took a lot of heat for this one, but I only mean it in the proper way for those who have been wronged and betrayed, of which there are many people out there that have been wronged and betrayed. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it. Either we surrender to the demonic forces abolishing and demolishing and happily doing so our country, or we defeat them in a landslide on November 5th, 2024.
Wenn man entrückt Vergangenheit richtete, sich aber schämen musste, wenn man die Gegenwart besah. Bei der Inflation hat dann unser Volk noch erhöhen müssen, die Millionen Menschen um ihre Spargroschen beraubte. Alles angestiftet und alles gemacht und alles verantwortet von den Männern des Novembers 1918.
Either we descend into a lawless abyss of open borders, rampant killings, super hyperinflation, which is what we have right now and not coming down, and festering corruption, or we evict Joe Biden and the Democrats from the White House and we make America great again.
Sie können uns unterdrücken. Sie können uns meinetwegen töten. Kapitulieren werden wir.
Missiles to include bottles and rocks and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks. This is now effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
This tip of the spear has entered the Capitol building.
We've been tanked and we've lost the
Can I speak to Pelosi? Yeah, we're coming, bitch. Oh, my bitch, we're coming for you too, fucking traitor.
They've got the gallows set outside this Capitol building. It's time to start fucking using them.
Start making a list, put all those names down, and we start hunting them down one by one. Mobilize in your own cities, your own counties, storm your own Capitol buildings, and take down every one of these corrupt motherfuckers.
What really made me want to come was the fact that I had supported Trump all that time. I did believe, that the election was being stolen, and Trump asked us to come.
He personally asked for us to come to D.C. that day. And I thought, for everything he's done for us, if this is the only thing
If you remember, he tried to pressure the Secretary of State in Georgia to find him votes. He created a fake elector scheme, and him and his conspirators called them fake electors and messages, so he knew he lost. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Just look up the fake elector scheme.
Justice for All, featuring President Donald J. Trump and the J6 Choir.
Justice for All is a song that made an unlikely candidate for the #1 spot on iTunes last month. The song is the national anthem, sang by the J6 Prison Choir, a group of 20 men who are currently incarcerated for their actions on the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Overlaid over their song is Donald Trump, the former president, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God.
That song tells you a lot because it's #1 in every single category.
He has scapegoated the other side. He's painted a narrative about his supporters being the ones to free the country. The other side is demonic. We are the good ones, and if you fight to keep me in power, you will be rewarded. You are the true American. Criminals that broke into the Capitol were assaulting people, looking for Pence, Pelosi trying to hang them. They're innocent. They're part of the resistance. They're political prisoners. And he speaks to people that feel that they should be doing better economically. He tells them, I hear you. The other side is the enemy, and you are fighting for good.
While leftist thugs are allowed to roam the streets, killing, looting, burning, raping, and pillaging, patriotic parents, Christians, conservatives, pro-life activists are being hounded by the FBI and the DOJ like terrorists. They're being treated so badly.
He uses psychological warfare on his followers by alienating them and instilling fear and brainwashing them intentionally. And it doesn't matter how often he contradicts himself or how often he's caught lying. And don't get me wrong, all politicians lie, but he takes it to a whole other level. But what happened with the 2020 election was scary because he knew he lost and then intentionally comes up with a conspiracy that he tells his followers. They had over 60 lawsuits and they lost them all because there was no evidence for foul play. And Fox News knew they were lying. They still intentionally spread a conspiracy to not piss him off. They got sued by Dominion, the voting machine company, because they said that the machines were manipulated, which was a lie. Fox News had to pay $787 million for defamation. But the sad part is they paid the money but had to never publicly come out to their audience to admit that they were lying. And at this point, there is no way to tell a Trump supporter that the 2020 election wasn't stolen because they'll believe anything he says. Fox News never told them the truth either. That is a huge sign that someone is brainwashed because critical thinking is disabled. I think this is more than enough proof that Maga is a cult. I really want to talk about the energetic perspective of cults and of Maga. So why do people get so brainwashed? Yes, psychological warfare is a real thing. But why do people appear as if they are under a spell? And why does this stuff seem so contagious? Maybe you've watched my video about thought forms. I'm gonna link it so you can hear more about it. At one point in this video, I mentioned egregores. No, really quick, when you repeatedly think a thought and you attach a lot of emotions to it, you start creating a thought form. So basically, yes, we are all creating thought forms or thought entities, whether we are aware of it or not. The more we focus on them and the more emotions we have attached to it, the more we are empowering the thought form. Once they're created, they stick to your energy body. That's another reason why it's so difficult to change your beliefs. Yes, the scientific reason is that you have to rewire your brain to form new connections, and that's not always that easy. On an energetic level, it's because these thought forms take a form and attach to you. Of course, these thought forms can be created intentionally for your benefit as well. Now, when a group or collective creates a thought form, an egregore is created. An egregore is still a thought form, but it is a whole different level of a thought form. But an egregore isn't just a small energetic form that attaches itself to someone. It creates an entity, and at this point, it has its own consciousness, and it can act on its own. It's an artificial spirit. Now, there are egregores for all kinds of things, right? Like there are wealth egregores. And of course, they're not harmful, but unfortunately, in these cult kind of situations are pretty much created by default. And of course, those are negative entities and they tend to brainwash people. Yes, people in cults are literally under a spell. The Nazi movement has an occult history, for example, and it is too much for this video, but just to give you a quick background.
In the beginnings of what became later the Nazi Party, we have to talk about Thule Society, which was an occultist German order, secret society. This is from Wikipedia about this Thule Society. Thule Society, originally the Studiengruppe für Germanisches Altertum, was a German occultist and folkish group founded in Munich shortly after World War I, named after a mythical northern country in Greek legend. The society is notable chiefly as the organization that sponsored the Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, DAP, German Workers' Party, which was later reorganized by Adolf Hitler into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP. or Nazi Party. According to Hitler biographer Ian Kershaw, the organization's membership list reads like a who's who of early Nazi sympathizers and leading figures in Munich. A primary focus of the Thule Society was a claim concerning the origins of the Aryan race. In 1917, people who wanted to join the Germanic order, out of which the Thule Society developed in 1918, had to sign a special blood declaration of faith concerning their lineage. The signer hereby swears to the best of his knowledge and belief that no Jewish or colored blood flows in either his or in his wife's veins, and that among their ancestors are no members of the colored races. Thule was a land located by Greco-Roman geographers in the farthest north, often displayed as Iceland. Thule originally was probably the name for Scandinavia, although Virgil simply uses it as proverbial expression for the edge of the known world, and his mention should not be taken as a substantial reference to Scandinavia. So basically what ended up happening is they ended up dissolving. The main guy was forced out of the DAP, and Hitler cut ties with the secret society. Everything just declined before he got into power. It is still argued to this day that some Thule members and their ideas were incorporated into Nazi Germany. Some of the Thule Society's teachings were expressed in the books of Alfred Rosenberg. Many occult ideas found favor with Heinrich Himmler, who had a great interest in mysticism, unlike Hitler.
The entire Nazi ideology came from Hitler and 3 of close friends in the party, and one of them was a Thule Society member, and the other 2 were mystics. They were trying to clear the Aryan race to become as pure as possible, and they believed that pure Aryans were demigods. They took the swastika that was already a religious symbol for peace, rebranded it for themselves, and used it as a sigil. And by tying their ideology into it, they're funneling energy to the movement. So egregores can be used to energetically brainwash people. They can also be used to take energy from the people that are in the movement and believe in it. The end result is the egregore becomes more and more powerful, and it gives more and more energy to the ultimate goal. So let's talk about the Trump attention syndrome and psychic vampirism. When Trump started running for office, he was already a celebrity. He was a great marketer, and he always knew how to get attention. If you remember, when he ran for the nomination, even a lot of traditional Republicans or conservatives didn't like him. The left wing hated him right away. Let me tell you something. The mainstream media then made a huge mistake, especially the left-wing mainstream media. They were giving him too much attention. Remember, attention is energy. All those freakouts and the nonstop screaming and complaining fed the egregore. The Maga movement was created, and the stronger it got, the more attention and emotions were given to the egregore. The result? The egregore grows stronger and stronger. That gives more power to Trump and the Maga movement. All the negative attention is literally food for the Trump egregore, for the Maga egregore. And I'm very aware that technically with this video, I'm feeding the egregore as well. But let's face it, we're 9 years in. Even if this video went viral, I'm a drop in the ocean. It's too late. Too much has happened. Too many people are brainwashed. What is happening now, we can't ignore. This could have been stopped from becoming so big 9 years ago. At this point, this egregore is brainwashing millions of people and zapping energy from the rest of us. If you know about narcissism, you heard of the gray rock method. The principle is the same. The method is no attention, no emotion, just ignore and don't give it energy. This would have been the way, but it's too late now. Another thing you have to consider, when Trump speaks, he deeply connects with the anger that people feel. He evokes all these negative emotions: fear, anger, hate. When people feel hopeless, it can actually feel good to be angry because it feels more empowering on a psychological level. But on an energetic level, it's a very powerful charge for an egregore, especially if millions of people feel it. And it was the exact same thing that empowered the Nazi egregore. I have so much more to say, but I thought I can end this video here. I hope you found this educational, and I hope you start paying attention to egregores, cult behavior, and how people act when they get into conspiracies. maybe you'll start viewing things differently. And I see you in the next video. Bye guys.